I've ranked many things in Kenshi, from cities to recruits to weapons, but there was one thing that was always missing, but it was very much requested. That is armor. So today I'm actually ranking all the armor in Kenshi. This is something I've been trying to do for a while, but just didn't know how to actually do it. Should I just rank boots versus one boot to another, or maybe just helmets, or do I throw everything in, but how do I rank it then? It is a mess, so I didn't know how to do it until I figured out I'm gonna do it in sets. And I created a couple of sets that you might see NPCs wear in the game, and then you can combine that for your own advantage. So you can see we have Noble, Trader, Duster, Assassin, Ranger, Ninja, Bandit, Police, Guard, Conscript, Reaver, Mercenary, Samurai, Crab Guy that you can't see because it's behind my head. We have a Paladin and we have an Ancient Samurai. I'm gonna show you these all in game as we rank them, and I'll go through, explain separate pieces and how they work together and what is good, what doesn't work, all that stuff, and then we're gonna rank all these sets and hopefully accomplish to teach you the ways of the armor in Kenshi and how you want to do it. But let's all just remember one important thing. It does not matter. What matters the most is that you look cool. Looking cool is more important in RPGs than actually being protected. Remember that, kids. Now, let's get to ranking. We're gonna start with very lightly geared up people, and we have a Noble and a Trader over here. This is almost not armor, it's more like just an outfit. So, a Noble that you might see wandering the desert. This is good for roleplay, but basically nothing else. These dyed robes and pants and all that stuff are gonna barely give you any protection. The shirt, the dyed turtleneck doesn't give you any protection. You do have the wooden sandals, allow you to run faster, and I do love using these because boots in themselves are not that big of a deal. And if your leg is not protected and you lose a leg, then that means you can use prosthetics, which means you have upgraded, which means you're just better. So I very often just use wooden sandals on a lot of my people, but if you're looking for protection, then yeah, these are not it. The only thing that offers some protection is the dyed turban over here, and it also protects you from dust storm. So as I said, the Noble, it's more for role-playing outfits. As for protection, not very good. Beside that turban that might protect you from dust storms a bit, so we're gonna have to put it down here in the F tier as you would expect. Next on the list we have the Trader. As you might see, some people wander the United Cities and the Great Desert trading with their caravans and such. Here's a Trader in kind of a classic outfit with the Trader's letters, of course. It does have the wooden sandals once again. Again, useful for athletics and that tiny bit of combat speed, but otherwise not for protection. They wear cargo pants that don't give you any protection. You can find some with sneaky chain and such that might boost it up a bit, but also not very good. The cloth shirt doesn't offer any protection, so it is mostly there just to look cool, if it indeed does look cool. Then we have rattan hat. I do like rattan hat, but I like it mostly on my rangers, on people that are not really gonna get into actual melee combat, because it gives the perception bonus, and early on that is a decent thing. It doesn't have amazing protection, it just don't, but it's an okay thing. It's an okay thing to use early on, and to use of course in your rangers for that tiny little bit of perception bonus, which, let's be real, later on doesn't really matter. And then we have Trader's letters, which is somewhere, I don't know, in the middle of leather armor. Nothing too special, nothing really good. Especially like your left arm isn't protected, which is instantly a big penalty. But then again, losing left arm doesn't really mean much if you're using one-handed weapon. But right arm also isn't that well protected. So yeah, all in all, you know, it has some chest and stomach protection, a bit of head protection with a bit of acid protection from that rattan head. But otherwise, let's be real, that Trader is still here more for trading, RP and that stuff. So we're gonna have to put it down in the lowest rank, down in the F tier. Now we move on to light armor protection, and there's quite a big group of people over here. And we start with the Duster. The Duster, as you can see, is wearing a dust coat, which actually is a great piece of armor. It's light armor, so, you know, leather doesn't give you that much percentage of protection, but it protects a lot of your body. As you can see here, left arm is fully covered, same for the right arm, same for stomach, same for chest. And then you have leg protection as well with this one, which is pretty big if you want that. And that 25% for the head as well, because a lot of heads, a lot of helmets have, let's say, like 75% protection. So you combine with that, and you know, percentages go up slowly. But then again, like if you're going through dangerous places, you have that acid protection, you have the burning protection, which is very rare on equipment as well. So Dust Coat in general is pretty amazing. It does have that a bit of a melee defense bonus that early on can be pretty useful, especially if you put this on ranger units. You know, ranger units, if they actually get into melee, that little bit of defense is pretty useful to them. But let's be real, later game, those tiny little bonuses don't really matter that much. Ashland's Head, another piece of gear that is pretty decent when it comes to acid protection and dust storm protection. Offers you some perception bonus early on for rangers once again, but actual protection for head, not very good. Percentage is pretty low, so not that amazing. We have the standard Drifter's boots then, the standard Drifter's leather pants as well. These are decent, they're not very high tier, but they're also pretty light and available everywhere. That tiny little bit of acid protection here, you know, a bit of extra leg coverage on the boots, you know, it all adds up. And then the leather shirt is pretty decent, especially for characters that don't want to wear something like chainmail or something heavier if they're using ranged weapons and such. So leather shirt is pretty decent over there. It doesn't offer as much protection as a turtleneck though, but still, all in all, Duster, I think it's pretty decent equipment bonus together, especially against environmental protection, and it looks cool as hell. So we're gonna put Duster up here in the A tier. Next on the list we have Assassin. So this is a classic assassin look right there. That basket hat, you have the assassin's rags, all looks pretty awesome. You know, you can see it in the Great Desert Sand Ninjas walking around with this. Pretty cool. So assassin's rags are there really for one thing and one thing only, or actually two things, but one thing mostly is the bonus assassination skill. So if you're going the assassination way, well then you'll probably want to use these and not really worry about protection, because your goal is not to get spotted at all, so you don't really need to have it. But otherwise, this is a glass cannon build, because early on it's going to give you pretty big that melee attack bonus +8, you know, very early on. That can be quite huge, but you know, defense goes down, which means there's a good chance you're gonna get hurt. But if you do hurt them, you'll probably actually be able to get through their defenses and such. Doesn't offer much protection, but otherwise, you know, coverage is low, protection is it's not much. And then the basket hat is there really just for dust storm protection and the extra stealth effect. Otherwise, doesn't offer any protection, so not very good. Dark leather shirt has the bonus on the normal leather shirt that it has the extra stealth effect. You know, if you're going the ninja way or the assassin way, there's that bonus. Now the samurai cloth pants, these are pretty decent because they actually offer you 50% extra protection for stomach that, let's say, drifter's pants don't give you. So, you know, you have to decide what you want, a bit more stomach protection or maybe some acid protection from the drifter's leather pants and such. And then of course we added the wooden sandals over here, just so the ninja can run faster. And when I say ninja, I mean the assassin. Ninja comes later. Anyway, the assassin, pretty decent, more early game than anything else, or if you're playing the stealth way, we're gonna put it out here in the B tier. Next on the list is the ranger. Weirdly, for a ranger, he doesn't actually have a hat that would go well for rangers, but don't worry about that. It's more like the whole outfit, how it works. So we have the reason for that. We have the drifter's leather jacket over here. He's full on a drifter, right? I said he's a ranger because the leather jacket is usually the staple for most crossbow users early on, just because of that extra crossbow effect. Those 10% can help, you know, early on or later on, the way you want. And importantly, it has that melee defense bonus, right? It's not the only one with crossbow effect, but it has that +5 melee defense bonus. So if your crossbowman actually gets into melee, they'll have that extra 5 melee defense bonus, so they can hopefully stand their ground until your melee characters come and help. But this is mostly, again, for early on. Early on, this is going to help you a lot. Otherwise, we've seen the drifter's leather pants, we've seen the drifter's boots. We all know what these provide, and they're decent. They're very mid-tier stuff. Very useful early on because they're also cheap to buy, cheap to find. You know, very easy. As for a helmet, we have a Hachigani over here. Hachigani, while it is decent protection when it comes to metal plate, you know, you have good percentages, it doesn't actually offer that much coverage for the head. You can see it's 45% only. So while it looks extremely cool, it's basically a bandana with a metal plate zone on it, and it doesn't really cover most of the head, so it's not the best. Now, the best part of this outfit is definitely the leather turtleneck. As you have seen on shirts before, they only cover 30% of your arms. The turtleneck actually covers 90%. So if you're going to use shirts on your characters and you don't care about stealth, then you want to go turtleneck. If you're making stuff out of leather turtlenecks are great. All in all, Ranger is somewhere in the middle of the pack when it comes to stuff. It's pretty decent. I really like the jackets. I like the look of the Hachigani, and turtlenecks are, when it comes to leather shirts, are actually amazing. So I'm gonna put him in the middle as well, in the B tier. Now we are at the last of the light armor group, and we have the ninja. So the ninja, of course, classic recognizable ninja rags, and they're really great early game for the melee attack bonuses that they offer, right? When you're really looking for that. And unlike the Assassin's Rags, they don't have the melee defense malus, but also they don't have a bonus as high as the Assassin's Rags. So this is, you know, a more reasonable early game option, especially because they offer more coverage than the Assassin's Rags. That meaning they don't have that big of a boost for assassination. They do have the crossbow skill effect, as I said before, but these ones don't have the +5 defense like the jacket has, you know, so there's that. Ninja mask also very recognizable for ninjas. It protects a bit from dust storms, it protects a bit from gas, but that's really the biggest thing that you're gaining out of that. While the coverage is pretty decent at 90%, the percentages, especially for cut, are just not very good. It is cloth hood basically, so it doesn't really help. Dark leather shirt, we've seen pretty much a shirt with some stealth bonuses. We know the wooden sandals allow you to run faster because you're a ninja, you have to. And then we have the ninja pants. Unfortunately, ninja pants are just cloth. They don't offer any real protection, so it's gonna have to drop the rank a bit. While I do really like the ninja rags early on, and especially if you're going the stealth way, these ones are pretty useful, but for actual combat and such, you know, they drop down soon enough, but they do sell well. So if you're in the Great Desert and there's sand ninjas around, you can loot them and sell the rags and you're gonna get a decent money. And mainly because ninja can't really protect their legs because of those pants, we're gonna put them down here in the C tier, but still a very iconic look. Now we get to medium armor, and the first is the Bandit. This is the real outfit of those bandits, as you've probably seen them many times walking around hub and basically annoying you and trying to kill you. This is their look. It basically means, hey, we found a couple of metal plates and we bashed them together, so it kind of looks like armor. That's basically what it is. Heart protector, quite terrible, unfortunately. It does have that bit of melee defense bonus, but all it offers is 50% chest protection, which when it comes to chest pieces, chest armor, is just not good enough. It's just, there's so many better options. This one isn't really worth it. And if you steal it from bandits, you know, maybe early on because you don't have anything else, it's better than nothing. But otherwise, you'll be mostly just selling these. Spiked helmet, actually a pretty decent metal plate option. It's not a bad helmet. It just looked kind of terrible. 90% coverage is pretty decent. So moving on, we have the leather vest. Unfortunately, the vest protects less than the shirts. It still has 100% stomach protection, which is pretty important, but the chest is only at 85% and the arms are at 0%. So worse than shirts, basically, worse than shirts. Now, we do have the armored rack skirt. While I really like this one because it does protect pretty well, and it has that martial arts bonus, so if you're going early game martial artist, it can be pretty decent if you're trying to look to have some armor as well as being a martial artist, right? But it can be decently heavy and it's gonna slow you down early on, so you know that can be a bit of a problem, but otherwise have great protection if the coverage is not that amazing. Then we have the samurai boots. These are pretty much a no-no early on because it just drops your athletics so much that it's gonna slow you down at the point where you're already slow. So you really don't want to use these, not at all. While they do offer great protection, they don't really offer that much coverage for your legs. And once again, legs, you kind of want to lose them and replace them. So leg armor is probably way less important than any other pieces of your whole body. So I would say samurai boots, use them maybe later on when you can actually still walk fast and not be bothered with that, but early on, not really. So where does that put the bandit, right? I would say it's not F tier because these two guys are not protected well enough, but bandits are very vulnerable to many attacks. They don't have the coverage. While ninja doesn't have any coverage on their legs, they still have, you know, way better bonuses for their chests. And as I said, chests and arms way more important than actual legs. Bandit does have better head protection though, so there's that. So I would put them out here. They're similar, and I'm gonna put this bandit over here in the C tier. Next we go onwards to glory to the police. This is the sound of the police, and the name is because that's the name of the helmet. This is a great, if not amazing outfit. So let's start with the helmet. Why is this a good one? Sure, it drops your melee attack bonus down for a bit, and early on that could be a bit of a problem. But you're not gonna put this on anybody that needs, that uses crossbows or is a martial artist, because you have better options there. What it makes it good is that 100% coverage, right? It has 100% coverage, got good protection. It is decently heavy, so early on might be a bit of a problem, but otherwise great protection, and it looks amazing as well. Of course, the star of the show, the plate jacket. The black one, even better. It has coverage of stomach, chest, both arms, 100% coverage, very decent protection for medium armor. It's leather, so it's not that heavy, it's only 5 kilos, actually less heavy than the helmet. So your neck is gonna be hurting, but not your chest. And, you know, otherwise it lowers dexterity a bit, but not to the point that it's problematic. 90% is completely fine, or something like that. Down to 80% dexterity leverage is completely fine. Plate jackets are amazing, and if you get them early game, they're gonna be big help. And if you can keep them in deep into the mid game, they're gonna be very good. And of course, later on, you want to switch to heavy armor, but still they're a great option for most combatants, and you have the asset protection as well if you go into places like that. We've seen drifters boots, nothing special on them. Then we have the plated drifters leather pants. These bad boys, you know, they drop your stealth, but if you're going into combat, you don't really care that much about stealth. They have actually 90% protection or coverage for both legs, so they're pretty decent when it comes to that. But again, legs not as important still. They're medium armor, they're chain armor, so the resistances are pretty good when it comes to percentages. And then the star of the show, well, not just the black plate jacket, but also the blackened chainmail, which is pretty much one of the best pieces of shirt equipment, if not the best piece, because yeah, it's just great. Doesn't drop your combat speed too much, it doesn't drop your dex too much, and it's 100% protection and everything. It looks amazing. The police is just a great combination of all of these pieces. A combination so great indeed that I will put this into S tier, because you can use this outfit in the early game, you can use it throughout the whole mid game, you can use it into the late game, and you will be doing fine. So police, S tier. Next we move on to the Caravan Guard. Now Caravan Guard's got some pieces that I really like. Of course, I just said everything you need to know about black and chainmail. It's amazing. If you can make it, if you can buy it, do it, because it's great for all of your soldiers, for all of your combatants. It's great. Early on, of course, it's going to be pretty heavy because it's chainmail, but you know, when you get those strength skills up, it's going to be great. Now, this one over here really shines with the plated long boots, right? If you can get these masterwork, they actually don't have any athletics malice at all. You can see over here, specialist grade, they are 0.95, so you know, 5% malice, but masterwork, not at all. And you know, they offer very decent protection. So if you're like, hey, I don't want to actually lose my legs like you said, Coco, that I should, I want to keep my legs. Well, if you want to keep your legs, you're going for these boots. These are the boots you will want, not these samurai ones because they slow you too much. They're too heavy and they don't offer that much protection. These ones are the middle ground that, you know, are gonna be useful for your early game characters all the way up to the late game. So I would suggest these. And then we have the armored rag skirt and the armored rags. These in combination are or can be very useful for a heavy geared martial artist. They offer lots of protection. And, you know, you have those martial arts bonuses, not malices, as you would usually have on pretty much any of the heavy armor. So there's that. It does lower your dexterity a bit, but, you know, when you come to heavier armor, that's just the way it is. You can't really avoid that. So these two in combination are great, but not only for martial artists. Like, they offer pretty decent protection. They do have a bit of a problem because they don't have that great coverage. Like, the stomach coverage is only 20% on this one, right? But they're still pretty decent, both of them together. And if you combine this with something like a blackened chainmail that protects your stomach 100%, then, you know, it's much better. Now, helmet is the one that really kind of leaves this one down because it's just a toggle must. It's there to protect from dust storms and not actually to protect from real damage. But all in all, Caravan Guard is actually a good choice. All those pieces together, the boots are great. Both of the legs and chest together are pretty decent. Of course, the chainmail works well. The helmet kind of leaves it down, but still, I think Guard is very much an A-tier pick. Next on the list, we have the conscript. This is a person that you might see be conscripted into the United States Army, but they're mostly there to be cannon fodder, unfortunately. So what does the conscript wear? We have some new pieces over here. We've seen the plated long boots, and I said they're great, so, you know, that's a big bonus to them. We've seen the samurai cloth pants. They're pretty decent because they offer that stomach protection, so they're a very light piece of equipment. It's just up to you if you want the drifters pants or these ones. I really like these ones if I'm not going to acid environments, because, you know, that extra bit of stomach is just great. Leather shirt, decent all around. Of course, it's not the best because it's just a shirt and it's not a turtleneck, so it doesn't protect your arms as much, but it's, again, a decent option. Then we have the conscript leather armor, or just leather armor in general. Those two pieces are the same. It is a bit on the light side of the medium armor, unfortunately. It doesn't suffer from any dexterity malices because of that, because it's not so heavy. It's only 4 kilos. So early on, when you have people that are not very strong, these pieces can be pretty decent. But the coverage, once again, is not 100%. It has 100% of the chest, arms are 80%, and then stomach is 70%. But when you combine that with these pants, that's not so bad because you're getting some extra coverage from some other places. But, you know, otherwise percentages not as high as maybe some of the more medium armor or the heavy medium armor, right? But that's understandable. This is where you're kind of going, hey, my character is not strong enough, so I'm rather gonna wear something that is lighter but still offers some protection, and that's where you can pick it. But, you know, this is kind of in the mid game. This is gonna start dropping down, and you want to start replacing it with heavier armor, unfortunately. Then you have the flared helmet, which actually I really like because it looks freaking cool. It's got 90% coverage, which is great, and it's metal plate, so it's got very good percentages over there. So, you know, that's a very big bonus if you're going for this helmet. So where are we dropping the conscript? I think, you know, it's got some issues. It's not the best protected out of the medium armor. It's just, there's some holes in there, but still think it's a very, very decent early to mid-game setup. So we're gonna put it down here with the Bandit and the Ninja in the C tier. Next, we have the Reaver. This is not really armor you're gonna see too much in your travels because mostly just 2 factions use it. And unfortunately, it's got some issues, intended or not, who knows. But it definitely does have some issues. So let's see what is good about it. The good is the Iron Hat. We all like the Iron Hat. It's the upgrade on the rattan hat if you're going for your rangers and you want to give them some perception bonus. But perception really, or those +4 really matters only in the early game. Later on, those are really small numbers, don't really help that much. But it's decent coverage and it's metal plate, so it's good percentages there. Also, that acid protection is pretty decent if you're going into an environment that needs acid protection. Then we have the black and chain shirt. Chain shirts are just worse than the chainmail. just due to the fact that it covers less. They're only 25% coverage for arms, while the other ones have 100%. So there's that. And percentages otherwise, you know, protection, they're good. It's just the coverage that kind of suffers over here. And then the crab shoes, they have less coverage than samurai boots, but also kind of very slow you down. So really, not really the shoes that I would be using. Even when I go for crab armor, I'm not really the biggest fan of these shoes, because we already said you want prosthetics anyway. Now, let's take a look at the Hackstopper jacket and the Hackstopper pants, the main features of this outfit. Now, you might look at this and say, hey, you know, this got decent coverage. It's got decent percentages. It's not heavy. It's only 5 kilos. It's leather. So yeah, this is pretty decent. And the same over here. The Hackstopper pants have the 10% in the stomach protection. So, you know, that's pretty decent. Both of these pretty decent. But there's one thing that these two pieces don't have that every single other actual armor has. And that is the harpoon resistance. If you look at this helmet, it's got 71 points harpoon resistance. These two don't have any of that. Now, there are mods that fix that, and you can use them, of course, but we're looking at this in vanilla way, like if you're not using any mods. So these two suffer from that, right? That's their biggest flaw. Now, all in all, the Reaver wouldn't really be too bad, but if you're going to attack any medium-sized city, or if you're going for way stations, anything like that, those places all gonna have harpoons. They're gonna have crossbow turrets and such, and you're gonna suffer if you're gonna be playing as a Reaver. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to put the Reaver down here in the C tier amongst these dudes. Now we have the last medium armor boy, and that is the Mercenary. The Mercenary is going to be carrying quite a lot. It's going to be quite heavy, but the protection is decent. We have the plated long boots, which we already said, pretty great. Should be your boots of choice if you go in that direction, if you can make them master work. Then we have the plated drifters leather pants. Just an upgrade on the leather pants. They don't offer as much protection as the samurai cloth pants, or as much coverage, I should say, but they offer more protection percentage-wise, because, you know, they are chain, while the other one is just basically leather and cloth. So there's that option. Then we have the chain shirt. Chain shirt, once again, not as good as the chainmail because it doesn't offer as much coverage, but otherwise still a decent choice. We have the mask helm, which kind of looks silly, but the good thing about mask helm is it is 100% coverage, which not every helmet has, but this one is full 100%. So you get that, and of course the percentages are great because it's metal plate. That perception bonus, you're just not gonna put this on somebody that uses crossbows and nobody else cares about perception. So all in all, mask helmet is a good helmet. Now the main thing, the mercenary plate, that's why this man is named Mercenary. Mercenary plate suffers from being quite heavy if you're trying to use it in an early game. Like, it's 20 kilos for this one, so early game that's gonna make people, you know, suffer. But when you're in mid game, that shouldn't be that big of a deal anymore. It has decent protection. It's got 100% on the chest, it's got 90% on both arms, 70% only in stomach. But if you have something like chainmail or chain shirt, that kind of fixes that whole issues. You're not going to use this as martial arts, even though this has fist protection. So if you are a martial artist and you're trying to punch somebody, it actually protects your fists. But then it has the -7 martial arts, so you're probably not using that. And it also has the dodge malice, so really not a martial artist thing, even though it has the actual fist protection there. It's got a bit of a melee attack balance, but most of the heavier armor has that, so that's not really something too special. And dexterity is down to 80%, which is a reasonable amount when it comes to that. All in all, Mercenary actually offers quite a lot of protection for your character, but it's not up there to the all in all, Mercenary offers quite a lot of protection to your character, but it's not as well put together and as suitable early game as, let's say, a police could be, the policeman. And then late game, it definitely gets outclassed by the heavier armor. So I'm gonna put the Mercenary down here in the B tier. Now we get to the last four, the heavy armor dudes, the proper man. First, we have the Samurai, the extremely unique look that everybody that plays Kenshi has seen. Probably people who've never played Kenshi but have seen videos of it, they would recognize this look because that's the OG Samurai proper look. Now, of course, we talked about the boots. Nothing special, really. That's one piece of this whole armor that you really do kind of want to get rid of. You want to be faster, you don't really want to have this, and you don't really care that much about the protection of your legs. We also have the Samurai leg plates. The Samurai leg plates are great because they offer 100% coverage on both the legs and then 50% on the stomach. And that 50% on the stomach is great because this is metal plate, so the percentages are great. So the coverage and the protection it offers, the extra for the stomach, is awesome over here. Then you combine that with, let's say, chainmail. I didn't go for blackened chainmail, just chainmail because it's gonna look cooler over here, I guess. This thing, of course, offering 100% on the arms, chest, and stomach is a great combination with that. And then you combine that with actual samurai armor. The main thing why I think the samurai armor is better than crab armor, and people are probably gonna hate me for saying that, is because it does not have the crippling malice for dexterity that the crab armor has, right? It does have the -8 melee attack bonus, and that really only matters early in the game. Later on, when you have higher skills, does matter when you're actually going to be wearing this. It's also 20 kilos, which is pretty much the same as the mercenary armor we were talking about earlier, right? Now, as for the coverage, I should start with that. Chest 100%. Arms are only 85% over here, so you might have a bit of a problem, but then you have the chainmail. This is actually giving you 100% there, so it's, you know, it kind of cancels out, and 85% in the stomach, but you have the pants that give you the extra 50, so, you know, it also kind of cancels out. Otherwise, you know, percentages are great. This is metal plate, it's, you know, just how it works. And then we have the samurai helmet, which first of all looks awesome. It's very unique, looks amazing. You're not gonna use this on martial artists or crossbowmen, so don't really matter about those malices. Sure, the melee attack bonus is a bit of a problem, but again, this is only a problem maybe early in the game. It does have 100% dust storm protection, which is amazing if you're playing a lot in the Great Desert, because the dust storms are gonna cripple your characters and lower their combat skills anyway. And of course, it's 100% coverage, it's got great percentages, so samurai armor is just great. But not only does it offer great protection, it also looks amazing, it's got unique looks, so I think the samurai has to go up here in the S tier. Next, we have Mr. Crab, and a lot of players really love this outfit because it's just great protection from attacks and also from the environment. It is not my favorite outfit though. Now, let's talk about why is that. The crab shoes, once again, not really something you want to kind of lose it, but let's not rank this on boots, right? We have the crab trousers. Pretty standard outfit over here, but when compared to the samurai leg plates, that, you know, that's the piece that we want to be comparing to, these don't offer any stomach coverage. They only offer leg coverage and not even fully for that one. So instantly they lose a bit there. Now we go for rusty chain shirt. You know, that's just a chain shirt, but kind of worse. Now, this is me just putting this on this character because it's gonna look cooler. We're not gonna judge this based on the rusty chain shirt, right? We're gonna mostly judge on these two pieces. So helmet, I would say helmet is actually great. Helmet, go ahead, use it a lot. Even though it looks absolutely ridiculous, use it, because it's a very good piece of equipment. That -20 perception bonus you don't care about because you're not gonna put this on your rangers, right? It has 100% head coverage, right? Now, unlike the samurai helmet, this one doesn't have 100% for dust storms. It only has 60, but you can then combine this with some other pieces of equipment and get the full 100%. Especially, this one is very useful because the acid and burning 60%, as I said, burning, very little pieces actually have protection against that, and acid is also very useful. So if you're really trying to live in very inhospitable places, then you will want a crab helmet and then combine it with something else. But I personally would not combine it with crab armor. I would really only use crab armor and this crab outfit on real dedicated tanks They're just tanks. I don't really expect them to deal much damage. They're just there to be tanky and be a big boss, right? These two have, or this one has the 100% on stomach and the chest. So the stomach protection is better here than the samurai, but then it doesn't have the pants like the samurai one has. It also has 90% on both arms, so just a bit of an upgrade on the samurai there. Now the main issue that I have with this piece is 50% dexterity effect. Basically any dex you're gonna have, it's gonna be half. And you're like, hey, but I'm just using blunt weapons, so I don't really care about dexterity at all. But dexterity still matters a bit. No matter what you use, it's still important. I feel like it's important to be faster. Like, you put samurai armor on somebody and then crab armor on somebody, and you give them relatively same-ish weapons, and I think the samurai armor is still gonna perform better. But if you're really like, hey, I just want this guy to be a tank, slap the crab armor on them, give them a jit, put them in there, and they're gonna be a boss tanking all the hits. And then you can put everybody else in samurai armor to deal damage or something like that, right? If you're going for the heavily equipped squad. Well, I do think crab armor is great for tanks. It's great across the board. I don't think it's S tier, and I know people are gonna leave the video right now as I said that and leave mean comments down below, but that's my opinion. And I'll put it out here in the A tier, but I'm not gonna put it in the S tier. Next we have the Paladin, and Paladin, the staple of the Holy Nation, they have equipped it in such a way that they will lose limbs. And since they are a nation that don't really believe in prosthetics, that's gonna screw them up. They are not very smart, you might say, and you would be correct. Now, the plated long boots, we said before, they're great. The chainmail, great coverage, heavy though, but also great. They do use the stout Hessian uniform that doesn't actually give them any coverage or protection. I don't know what's that about, but they love using these pants. And you know what? If you don't want to protect your legs, I'm not gonna really care about that. I'm just gonna chop them off. So that definitely kind of brings the whole Paladin vibe down. Then we have the Bucketzukin that they love use, and you know, it's a staple look for the Paladin. It is actually a pretty decent piece of helmet. Doesn't offer that much coverage, but it's chain and it's decent percentages there, so it's a very decent helmet. I wouldn't say no to that one. And then their main staple, the Holy Chestplate. The main issue for this one, it's not the coverage for stomach and chest, because that's 100%. It's the problem that it has only 25% coverage for arms. Now, of course, you're using chainmail over here. It kind of helps with that, but still, you will very often see these dudes losing arms, and that's just how it is. It does offer a bit of leg protection, so you know, maybe that's why they're not using these pants, and they're just relying, they're saying, hey, plated long boots plus the 40% leg coverage from this, that's good enough for me. Hey, if that's good enough for you, Paladin, that's all good. Otherwise, decent. It's a decent outfit. It looks cool, it's just not if you want to protect your arms. And the thing is, even when you have prosthetics, you still want to protect your arms, because if you lose a right arm, you know, to the point that you can't use it, then you can't fight. And well, we can't really have that now, can we? Otherwise, great percentages on it. It's just, you know, that coverage is just awful. Still, all in all, I think Paladin is it's pretty decent, but has a lot of missing pieces, basically. We're gonna put it out here in the B tier. And then last but not the least, if certainly special, you will see the ancient skeletons use these pieces. Not the helmets, of course, not the boots, of course, not the shirt, of course, but the other pieces, yes. But still, the boots and the helmet and the shirt are there just to complete the look, basically. This is all a samurai outfit, but worse, because it's ancient. It doesn't have as good of protection, but otherwise, if you look at the bonuses and malices on these pieces, well, just malices, they're pretty much the same. This is the budget version of the proper samurai armor. It's beautiful color, so there's that. It also gives you tetanus right away, so there is also that. And then the rusty chainmail just fits perfectly, you know. It is 100% protection, so if you find it early on and you can actually wear it, because you're strong enough, until you can actually afford proper chainmail, because it's not going to be cheap to find, you can use the rusty chainmail and be like, hey, this gives me decent protection. right? Gives you defense and protection, it's fine. The Ancient Samurai armor, probably at the point where you're gonna be actually fighting people that wear this, you're probably gonna be able to have your own good samurai armor, right? As you can see over here, coverage on this one is just worse than the proper one. That's probably because of all the holes that have rusted through. Same for the helmet, right? It's 5% less. This one is 10% less in the chest and then 15% less on stomach and the arms. So it's just not as good. It looks like the legs have the same coverage, so that's the bonus for the 50% for stomach, but still, you know, all in all, it's just not as great and it's pretty heavy. And as I said, at the point where you can actually get this, you're probably gonna be able to get better stuff. So because of that, we're gonna have to put the Ancient Samurai down here in the C tier, but I'm gonna put it on top of the C tier, let's say. And there you have it. There is the Kenshi armor actually ranked. I've been promising this video for more than half a year and I've finally done it in my own way. Now let me know what you think about it. What would you put in the S tier? What would you put in the F tier? What do you agree or disagree with? And thank you for watching.